So shetani amekumark. Let me switch to Sheng kidogo. The moment you proclaim Jesus in the marketplace and other people are proclaiming other entities, you've become marked. So expect crazy battles because you're not selling the narrative that is there in the world. You understand? And unfortunately, this particular world that we live in is controlled by very many powers. But let me just sum it up in two ways. There are two powers that minister in this world. You're either on God's side or you're either on the devil's side. There is no in between. That is one conclusion I've come to. So every time you're in the marketplace, ask yourself, the company that I'm running, the entity that whatever we are doing, the processes we are trying to refine, how does this glorify the kingdom of God? Okay, you could be an artist, you could be doing all these things, but you always have to come to that question. And the moment let me just go back to my notes. The moment you understand that there are going to be battles, then you are marinating yourself for failure. Because Satan is going to throw every single thing at you. When my issue started, I remember saying on Twitter that God was testing me. And let me tell you, people made fun of that thing. But how was I able to come to the conclusion that God was testing me, or, I was being prepared, or these were just spiritual battles? Because every time I did business, or every other thing I've done when in the business world, I have always taken my mission of serving the church very seriously. So remove this assumption that because you serve in church, because you're a good Christian, because you're a good person, you are immune from failure. You're not. Failure will come at you. Challenges will come at you. But this is where it gets interesting. When the storms come, what do you exactly turn to? There are people, when a small storm comes, they think that their money is going to save them. There are certain people, when a storm comes, they will run to a witch doctor. These are things that happen. There are people who do a lot of, there are so many bad things that happen in society. I don't want to go deep into those things. But as a person who has been, as a person of faith, always remember that when troubles come, your foundation should be God. And when I say troubles, I don't mean that sometimes you're going to wake up with a bad mood. I mean real problems. Because I don't want to sugarcoat. You might get sued. You might get auctioned. You will lose people you love. And the most painful one for me, people will misjudge you. Let me tell you, you could be doing very well in business today. Tomorrow, if you are to get an issue, they will start saying, hey, na jamaa alikuwa ameanza kujenga nyumba. Hii nyumba ndio imefanya ishe. So those are the sort of things that remove you from your purpose. Because you've not reconciled yourself to the fact that you have to fight. When my problems came, the biggest regret I have is the fact that instead of focusing on God, my first few months were trying to justify why I should not go through what I was going through. My initial prayers were, lakini Mungu surely, unaona venye mimi natoanga tithe, sijui nafanyanga nini, yani umeamua tu ni kuembarrass hivi. But the more the problems became deeper, I started getting an understanding. And I started realizing that since it's a process, part of that process entails refinement. The old you, before God takes you to a higher level, there are things he has to prune out. Kama your self-entitlement, you are kusema, you think you're so perfect, you should not fight battles. That is self-entitlement. God has to prune that off. We put so much trust in money. We put so much trust in connections. We put so much trust in our businesses. And sometimes we forget God. You look at the money you have in your account, you're like, niko na 100 million kwa account. Niko fiti, you understand? Sometimes God has to prune that off. Because one of my lowest moments was expecting someone to give me a bailout that never came. The lowest moment wasn't that I prayed to God and he didn't do what I wanted him to do. Is that I stopped praying for a day or 2 or 3. Nashinda nikiangalia email. Umongelesha investor amekwambia ni aje tunaweza kudunga hiyo do, hii shida yako si kubwa. So you keep checking your email. Badala ya kufocus na Mungu, you're focusing on a human being. And you know what happens when you take that direction? God has a tendency of first, kwanza anajiondoanga kidogo. Now let's see how far this human is going to take you. So for you to be able to move past that, God has to ensure that you can take suffering without compromising your values, without murmuring, because murmuring is another big thing that I've come to realize kind of separates us from God. You should be able to take suffering with grace. You should be able to smile. Why? Not because you trust in your own ability, but because you know there is a God you serve and that God owns the entire world. Yeah, so...
Preaching so good. Keep up.
So trusting in God is what will set you aside. Now, when you're going through your suffering, temptations will come. Very many of them. Let me tell you some of the temptations I had. Mimi nimeitwa na wase wa wash. And I kid you not. Like these guys called me, they told me, look, you have very good marketing skills. Sisi ni tunapiganga watu stories za gold, we want you in our crew. Sasa hiyo unaambiwa hivyo, you don't even have enough money to fuel your car, hujalipa rent 2 months. But this is now the test. Are you able to focus on God completely and assume that he's going to come at his own opportune moment, or you're going to compromise your values? Most people take the easy way out, thinking it's the easy way out. But as you take your easy way out, you have gone out of your purpose. The repercussions huko mbele are going to be sometimes unreversible, or you might end up losing your destiny. These things happen because we said it's spiritual warfare. In every place there is warfare, there are casualties. People lose their limbs in war. People die. Some people go crazy. So it's not a joke. Ukisikia ni vita, hii biashara ni vita, ni kwa sababu ni vita ya ukweli. You're fighting real war. So you need to understand and you need to know your purpose all along. There's something I normally use as I go into my next point. I call it the analogy of instrument flying. I'm a trained pilot. My friend over there is also a pilot. And we were having a conversation with him. I met him today, and pilots, there's a joke about pilots that when we're in the air, pilots talk about women and marriage. When you're on ground, we talk about flying. So it's a joke we normally have. So when I met him, he was with his wife and we started talking about flying. But there's an analogy I normally use about instrument flying. Pilots are trained when flying through storms not to look outside. You're trained not to look outside. The first thing when you go into an instrument flying class, the first lesson, they will blindfold your eyes. And then they will tell you, close your eyes, and they're going to rock the aircraft a couple of times for like a minute. And then the instructor or the person training you will ask you, what do you think the aircraft is doing? In 99% of the time, pilots will say, I think this is now the guy who's blindfolded. This aircraft is probably turning, or this aircraft is probably flying straight. The moment macho inafunguliwango is when you realize the aircraft is actually banked at a very dangerous angle. So they normally use that first lesson to tell you that when you fly through bad weather, you should only trust your instruments. Don't look outside. So ukiwa kwa storm, lightning inapiga, there's so many things happening, the aircraft is being thrown about. I've been into bad storms, and the training always kicks in. I stop looking outside or through the windshield, I start looking at my instruments. If my instruments tell me that the aircraft is turning slightly to the east, I correct based on the instrument. Why? Because this is how the human body works. For you to stand, your body needs two things. You need the visual aspect, and you need the balance mechanism that is found in your ear. So when your body is stripped of the visual mechanism and you can't see clearly, your ears tend to give wrong signals to your brain. So you might actually think that you're inverted, but in real sense, you're actually very straight and level. But when you revert to an instrument, your instruments will never lie to you. Never. Now, in real life, the aircraft is your life. You are the pilot. The instrument is God. no matter the storm, it doesn't matter how much lightning you see outside. Your passengers could be screaming. You know, so many things happening. You're talking on the radios. So many things are happening. Your weather radar is looking red. But remember the first rule. Look at your instrument. So cultivate a relationship with God. Because the moment you stop trusting your instrument and you start looking outside, you will lose your aircraft. The biggest killer of pilots, the last crash KQ had in 2008, 2007, 2008, one of those years around August, was caused by spatial disorientation, which is the condition I've described, where the pilots took off into a storm. Instead of focusing on the instruments, they started having conversations. Nobody was paying attention to the instruments. So a whole brand new aircraft turned. Before they realized what was happening, it was too late. The aircraft was lost. Over 100 people died. Life is kind of like the same. Always stay at your instruments. Disregard whatever your body is telling you. Sometimes your body will tell you to quit. Sometimes Satan will tell you to commit suicide. Depression is real. I've personally suffered a bout of depression where for a whole week I couldn't wake up. Nilikuwa nashindanga naamka naangalia Twitter, nimelimwa. Guys are just wow, I'm like, oh God. Wow, unatoka hapo, unaenda TikTok. 10 things you didn't know about Khalif Kairo, number 5 will shock you. Unafungua simu yako, upata DCI, when do you Cairo, we need you at Parklands police station. So what actually saved me is that I reverted back to my training. And nikajiuliza, by the way, am I the one who created myself? No. Have I died? No. So what authority do I have to take my own life? You have no authority to take your own life. The one who created you and the one whom you serve understands why you have to go through that season. Maybe he's preparing you for something great. And we can reference this in the Bible. The book of Psalms is David going through a bout of depression, if you look at it from a normal perspective. Because on one side, David is very angry, he's very frustrated, he's being thrown around by all these storms in his life. And David pia likapitia. But at the end of it all, he was able to emerge. You understand? At the end of it all, he was able to emerge. Why? Because he never left his reference point. If God tells you, I am with you, you're living according to his rules. Jupia kuna kupitia ya ujinga, by the way. Let me be very clear. You know there are things you can go through in life because you knowingly put yourself in bad situations. I'm talking about storms in life because even when we fly aircraft, nobody puts themselves in a storm. Storms cook up from nowhere. You could leave Nairobi, go to Mombasa, ukirudi Mombasa somewhere hapo katikati, you run into a very bad storm. So you're not supposed to run away sometimes. Sometimes the simplest way through a storm is through it. You just have to sail your storm and you never have to lose your reference to your instruments. Now, after all these things, I still need to remind people that all these things are not going to last forever. Because I know I'm speaking to someone who has a business, they're not getting sales, they show up every day, things are not working out, and you ask yourself a lot of questions. But there's always what I call, in my own words, a zigzag moment, where it all stops making sense, but at the right point, God will tell you to pursue, and you will claim whatever was meant to be yours. And this is a theme that actually repeats itself in the Bible. You can look at someone like David, again. At the end of it all, David died on the throne. After he had fought all of his battles, he had done all his crazy things, he had his fights with God, God punished him, akakuwa na issues hapa na pale, but at the end of it all, David entered a season of rest. In fact, the Bible says he died as an old man. He ruled for 40 years. Probably 40 years. Or to a Sunday school. Anyway, someone else I can cite, Job. Probably the best story about resilience has to be Job. And we are told that Job lost everything. He went through, he lost his health, he lost his children, he lost his wealth, health and wealth. Naweza kuwa rapa. But anyway, at the end of it all, God entered him into a season of rest. But the season of rest comes if you agree to fight your battles. Don't run away from your battles. Failing, you do not have to be ashamed of failing. This is what I want to tell you. Oh, gari yako ilichoto, sawa, chukue nduthi. You know, nyumba imefungwa, it's fine. Move back with your mom kidogo. You know, your business is not doing well, it's fine. I had to shut down 3 locations. I lost a lot of money, but it didn't define who I am. Why? Because I understand the vision ahead. I understand where I'm going, and I understand I'm riding through a storm. And at the end of it all, every storm huisha. You understand? There's no storm. It doesn't rain forever. At one point, the sun will come out. You understand? Yeah, so as I wind up, I don't care what storm you're going through. But I want you to walk with your head held up high. If you don't have a relationship with God, I don't think it's too late. Make God your reference point. Wow. In everything you do, in every decision you make in your business, confide to him all your fears. Tell him, Mungu bedheni aje. Pressure iko hapa na hapa. Many times I actually talk to God. Nika, it's like I'm talking to my dad. I tell God, sasa Mungu unasemanga wewe ni beshte yangu, but manze niko na pressure do hapa. How are you going to help me? Make God your friend. Because I believe the biggest issue we have as a generation is that we've run away from God. Gen Z. That is actually the biggest issue we have as a generation. We've run away from God. Our parents walikuwa watu wa church, millennials kidogo ni finiki. Then now us Gen Zs, we
Wewe.
Poleni millennials.
Wewe.
But I'm just saying. And I'm saying this because the number of people I talk to and I tell them, by then ni God, they're like, awe kwenda. Before the problems came, I tell people, by the mi ni Mungu, you know, I work hard, but I credit all my success to God. And people will be saying, no, we wacha kutuambia stories za God. Watu wote wanasemanga ni God. But the truth of the matter remains, God is the author and the finisher of your story. So at the end of the day, make God the foundation of your life. And if you put that trust in him, God will never fail you. Amen. He won't. As I stand here before you as a testimony that God can never fail someone.
Amen.
At my lowest, I held on to God. He never failed me. And I know at Asai, but we are going to go to higher levels.
Wow.
So I think this is a good point to end my talk stroke sermon. And I really appreciate for the people who came, and asante sana Pasi. This is my first time actually speaking to a group of people. Yes, most of the times I'm always doing videos. And I really appreciate you na Mungu awabariki sana.
Amen. A round of applause for